Welcome to episode 79 of the Creative Train podcast, and I'm calling this one, How to Ruin Your Art. Yes, you read and heard that right. There are a few guaranteed, simple, easy, and free steps you can take right now to ruin your art. Maybe you've tried some of them before, maybe you've just heard about them. But in this episode, I'm going to dig deep into some of the things that may surprise you about yourself as an artist, or your art as an extension of yourself. This is going to get a little bit probably uncomfortable for some people, but I think it's things that we need to hear and need to think about. All aboard. You may have noticed my voice is a little different. I normally record in the morning with my morning voice just after coffee. Right now we're at just after midnight, but this is like on my mind and I have to get it out. So this is my midnight voice. So after all of this time of trying to prop you up, now I'm trying to tell you how to sabotage your art, like WTF. But yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Think of it as signs to watch for, that maybe you've been sabotaging your art and overall creativity by doing some really destructive things, both with your physical studio and that all-important studio between your ears. That's the big one. And I'll confess right now that I am totally guilty when it comes to self-sabotage and the conflicts between my best intention and the eventual gravity of holding myself to unrealistic standards, deadlines, and imposed schedules imposed by who? By my guilt? I don't know. In a recent Facebook post I saw, the original post was about artists. And given the state of art, like real art, in light of the tsunami of the AI everything now, the original post said something to the effect of, wow, artists are really going to have to sell out now. And the comments on this were very, very varied. And the one that struck out to me most was from a fella I actually know in the Facebook sense. I didn't know he followed this guy because I figured we were very polar opposites on the folks that we would follow. But anyways, he's a great musician. I know he's never really had to work a day in his life. Work at a job he doesn't like, ever. He lives the idealized life of an artist with a trust fund, whose toughest decision on any given day is which city he's going to travel to, and which restaurant he's going to go to, and then which dish he's going to get when he gets there. That's it. That's his day. One thing that really struck me was his comment was that art is sacred and cannot have a dollar value placed on it. We create because it's who we are. We must do it. But remember back, this is from a guy who's never had his livelihood threatened because he doesn't have one. And neither has he ever had to think or worry or be concerned about rent, food, and other bills. It's something completely foreign to him. So although I agree in part with his comment that art is sacred, yes, I believe that too. I think it's not really addressing the point of the original post's idea that we as artists are up against some really tough odds right now. And I believe the original post's intent was to say that he is afraid for artists having to sell out just to keep some income flowing, the lights on, and food in the fridge. Art can be a very sacred thing to us, especially as artists. Making art gives us mental agility, spiritual buoyancy. It's our, I hate this term, safe place, our happy place. Even if it's just happening at a small desk in some corner of the house. Heck, I've even had some of my best ideas come to me while collecting my thoughts, while dictating words into the notes tab of my phone in the bathtub at 2 or 3 in the morning. But I believe the post's intention was not to demean artists, assuming that they are going to choose to sell out, deciding to do less original work or even deploy some of those dreaded AI tools available now. I use that term tools very loosely. And I say this because I know the person that made the original post. He himself is an artist and an avid collector of contemporary art. He's much more well off than I am. Placing a dollar figure on our creations is a very difficult thing to do. We factor in the cost of materials, a modest hourly, air quotes, wage we would like to make. But then there's the vibe factor of the completed piece. I've mentioned this before. The vibe factor is, what value does your art bring to the life and the environment of the person who purchased it? And here is part 1 of how to ruin your art. Well, do you want to sell lots of stuff? Well, make stuff cheap. Like anywhere from $3 to $20. Not one single person ever goes into an art and craft show hoping to find the fine art piece they didn't know they were missing in their home. None. Not one ever. It's never happened, and it never will. So stop selling yourself short. But is it selling out to make these things? Yeah, I think partially so, but only if you change your entire course from making things that you were truly inspired to make to making things that you want to sell. That is the difference. And that difference is an important one to discuss here. And part 2 of this ties in really closely with this, and it's something I have been wrestling with for many months now, almost a year now. And that is placing unreal expectations on yourself as far as the quantity versus the quality of your creations. Like, how many pieces have you finished this past year, this month, this week, today? I was away from stained glass for over a decade. I had a business. It worked really, really well. The studio was still up in the attic. All the glass and tools were still there. But my focus changed more to music. And I simply didn't have the time or the focus to do both. There were other factors as well. Check out the episode called Toxicity in Creative Partnerships for that. that was a really rough part of my life. It took a lot of soul searching, a lot of deep digging, but I finally found the artist in me at that point. Following that 10-year run of focus strictly on music, I had the strong desire to get back into stained glass. There was something about it that was calling me. And it all started with being determined to finish a 4-square-foot panel for the bathroom door. It was there for 10 years, unfinished. And there was literally like 20 pieces that needed to be cut. And all the finished soldering, of course. If you know stained glass, you know it's not a small project. Nothing is small. But really, it took me 10 focused hours to complete. Taking it from a decades-old piece that sat under newsprint so it wouldn't oxidize too bad to a wonderful piece installed properly in the upstairs bathroom door. But over the course of that year, I completed 8 stained glass panels, original designs, 7 boxes, original designs, 4 guitar-themed pieces, original designs, and 12 actually panels using tooled copper on top of glass, on top of wooden frames that I made myself. And I also took on 3 commissioned custom pieces. This was in, I don't know, well within a year. As soon as I started showing these things on my social media, it took off. It was so invigorating to be back at it. But that kind of focus, it meant I had little time for music. And I felt bad for that. So I went back and forth. Now, with that year in the proverbial rearview mirror, now I have this podcast, as well as writing a workbook for my Creative Train clients. I'm teaching music in 3 locations, as well as doing virtual lessons online more and more. And guess what? I don't have this time for stained glass again. I don't really have much time to do much of my own original music again. And when I do, the muse doesn't really seem to be there for music or glass, because my creative mind has switched to the script writing podcaster mode this past 2 years. And don't get me wrong, I am really, really proud of how the podcast has taken off. And like I've said before, I take pride in my accomplishments because I think pride is found in those things you accomplish. I've found my podcast go worldwide. And as of today, the biggest audience is in Japan. Places where you don't think of English being the biggest spoken word, but there it is. Japan, Singapore, United States, and Canada. Those are the top 4. And it's gone just word of mouth, as I like to say, from one creative mind to another. My typing skills are way better than they were before. And even the way I speak in conversation has changed. I'm constantly fixated on speaking more decisively, creatively, and clearly, even if it's just in casual conversation. So I can say that this is an area I've significantly improved in. Not that it was a problem in the past, but I've learned to use my voice as a tool and learned how to use it in many new ways. It's taken work. And I consider that a creative gain. Speaking of voice, did you hear my dog out there? My studio is in the attic of my house. And we have one of those rarely, strangely cool nights here in central Ontario. So he's out barking at the coyotes, trying to scare them away. So basically, part 2 of How to Ruin Your Art is beating yourself up over changes in your focus as an artist, changes in your output, or how long it takes you to generate new products or new ideas. Because chances are you're an artist if you're listening to this, right? And you've been guilty of doing these things too. I know it. Chances are that when your focus changes, it hasn't been because you're sitting on the couch watching TV. No, you've likely got some other things that have captured your imagination. So don't let your changes in focus feel like you've abandoned your whole history of your creative self. You're still likely doing some creative things, but you're likely in the initial learning curve, and you haven't finished the pieces you've hoped you would yet. Just because the YouTube tutorials make it look easy doesn't mean that you're a master in wood carving or resin casting or forgery or anything. I mean, like metal forging, not like forging literature. Don't do those things. You have a creative mind, and it's not on a straight and predefined course. Despite my train on the tracks analogy, creative train, it only follows one course. The truly creative mind picks up on tiny, small cues. An eye glance, the color of someone's hat, the way your mate inhaled or exhaled, and you ruminate upon them, not in a negative way, but you refine them and eventually turn them and offer those things into the world from the crucible of your imagination into the world. As you guessed it, dun, 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 art. You make art. So the biggest 2 things to take away from this episode are: don't sell yourself out to the stuff that you think will make you a few dollars. That doesn't make you a successful artist. And do not, under any circumstance, allow your thoughts to wander toward the notion that you are unproductive if you haven't turned out a dozen pieces or so this year. You're a human. You have stuff to do. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're a brother, you're a sister. You may well even have a dreaded day job. You may have kids that need you up and active and productive before 7 a.m. You have bills to pay, mouths to feed, floors to clean, and dishes to wash. But at some point, at the very core of your nature, you are an artist. It's a wonderful thing. One with inner beauty, inspiration, and despite those things we call sacrifice, you have something beautiful and worthwhile to add to this world. Your family must remain your priority. And those bills, they have to be paid. Do whatever you must to make those things happen. But at the end of the day, when you close your eyes, I know your mind drifts towards your art. And please believe me, there are eyes, ears, mouths, and minds craving the wondrous things you create. So let's take a breath together. It's really late now. Sleep well, my beloved artist. Tomorrow is another new day. When you wake, your mind will be fresh and open. You've got stuff to think about, I know. But if you've been taking notes over the past 78 episodes of this podcast, you will know that no thing is lost. Just go on and do what you can. Do what you must, do what you need to do, eventually do what you want to do. But don't ever forget those things that you must do as an artist. There's your pep talk. Now go get to work. Yeah, it's interesting how the late night hours change the vibe of reading the Creative Train podcast for me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've checked back on other episodes. The last few episodes have been kind of off the cuff because I get super passionate about things and I want to just get them out there. I don't want to sit here farting around with my keyboard and my computer trying to just organize thoughts. I want to just speak them. I'm looking at my screen with the master volume level on my workstation bouncing up and down, and I pretend that's you. I pretend that I'm talking to an actual person that way. So check those out. They're important to me, and I think as an artist, they might be important to you as well. So yeah, now that you're done this, like I just said, go get to work.